We want to welcome you to our Leavenworth City Commission meeting. We ask that you turn off or silence all cell phones. Our meetings are televised every day on Channel 2 at 6 p.m. and at midnight, and also available for viewing on YouTube. At this time, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by silent meditation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Amen.
At this time, I'll be reading 4 proclamations. First proclamation I'll be reading is the Economic Development Week. Communities rely on economic development professionals to promote economic well-being and quality of life. For communities like the city of Leavenworth, that means coordinating activities that create, retain, and expand jobs in order to facilitate growth, enhance wealth, and provide a stable tax base. Economic developers stimulate and incubate entrepreneurism in order to help establish the next generation of new businesses, which is the hallmark of the American economy. Economic developers are engaged in a wide variety of settings, including rural and urban, local, state, provincial, and federal governments, public-private partnerships, chambers of commerce, universities, and a variety of other institutions. Child care programs, which are mostly small businesses run and staffed predominantly by women, are still recovering from health and financial hardships stemming from the pandemic, while they have continued to meet the needs of the families. Economic developers attract and retain high-quality jobs, develop vibrant communities, and improve the quality of life in their regions. Economic developers work with the city of Leavenworth within Leavenworth County, Kansas. I, Jermaine Wilson, Mayor of the City of Leavenworth, Kansas, hereby proclaim Economic Development Week, May 8th through the 12th, to be Economic Development Week. Thank you so much. Please share 3 words.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. Economic development must be a collaborative effort within a community in order to have a thriving town, good paying jobs, excellent schools, successful small businesses, and a good standard of living. LCDC greatly appreciate Leavenworth's support and recognition. Thank you.
Provider Appreciation Day. Child Care Aware of America and other organizations nationwide are recognizing child care providers on this day. Child care providers a safe and nurturing place for the enrichment and development of millions of children nationwide and is a vital force in our economy. The pandemic illuminated how indispensable child care providers are for the well-being and economic security of Kansas young children, families, and communities. Child care programs, which are mostly small businesses, run and staffed predominantly by women, are still recovering from health and financial hardships stemming from the pandemic, while they have continued to meet the needs of families. Kansas recognizes that child care has a lifeline for families, communities, and the economy, and as such has provided much needed support to providers to help sustain the viability of child care. Our future depends on the quality of early childhood experiences provided to young children today. Support for high-quality child care represents a worthy commitment to our children's future. I, Jermaine Wilson, Mayor of the City of Leavenworth, Kansas, hereby proclaim May the 12th, 2023 to be Provider Appreciation Day. Kool-Aid smiles.
Thank you. On behalf of all of the providers in Leavenworth County, thank you for recognizing what we do on a daily basis as an important facet of our economy. Our foundation are our little folks, and we must care for them. Thank you.
Chief Gidges. National Police Week. There are approximately 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including 55 sworn members of the City of Leavenworth Police Department. The Congress of the United States of America has designated a calendar week each year during which May 15th occurs as National Police Week, and May 15th of each year to be Peace Officers Memorial Day. The names of those dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. There are more than 22,000 names of fallen heroes engraved on the memorial, of which 224 officers were killed in 2022. The members of the City of Leavenworth Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the City of Leavenworth, Kansas, and the citizens of Leavenworth, and our leaders pledge to stand with the families of the fallen officers, the officers protecting our community, and the officers throughout the United States, and to honor their loss as they protect their communities. All officers of the Leavenworth Police Department are encouraged to turn on their red and blue lights for 1 minute every day at 11 a.m. from May 14th through May 20th, 2023. I, Jermaine Wilson, Mayor of the City of Leavenworth, Kansas, hereby proclaim May 14th through May the 20th, 2023 to be National Police Week.
Mr. Mayor, Commission, on behalf of the men and women of the Leavenworth Police Department, I'm honored to accept the proclamation. They continue to strive every day to keep our community safe. They work very hard to do that, and we always appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Mr. Brian Foss, Public Works Director. How you doing, sir? Public Works professional focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Leavenworth. These infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of Public Works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. It is in the public's interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Leavenworth to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. The year 2023 marks the 63rd annual National Public Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association. I, Jermaine Wilson, Mayor of the City of Leavenworth, Kansas, hereby proclaim May the 21st through the 27th to be Leavenworth Public Works Week. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. All of us within Public Works would like to thank the Commission and our residents for their support throughout the year. From snow removal and pavement rehabilitation, to building inspection, to trash collection, and to collecting and treating our wastewater so it is safe to put back into the environment, Public Works has been and will always be an important provider for health and safety for our community. So again, thank you all very much.
Yep. Next item on the agenda, old business, consideration of previous meeting minutes. Minutes from April 25th, 2023, regular meeting. Are there any questions or comments?
No.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the minutes from April 25th.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Hengler.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 4-0. Next item on the agenda, second consideration ordinance number 8213, amending by regular ordinance charter ordinance number 40.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, there have been no changes since the April 25th reading of this. As just a quick reminder, this is one of the many steps required to fund provide funding for the fire station number 3 replacement wastewater treatment admin building. There's also another piece of, on the agenda tonight, item 11, that more directly relates to the specific project. It simply gives the city the authority to issue that debt.
Okay, thank you. This requires a roll call. If there's no comments, I'll begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 Pass 4-0. Next item on the agenda, second consideration ordinance number 8214, amending article number 9, historic preservation of the Code of Ordinances, development regulations.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, there have been no changes or any public feedback prior to the since the April 25th meeting. As a reminder, this went through the Leavenworth Preservation Commission, and this is just an update of some of the articles of the historic preservation section of the Code of Ordinances.
There's no questions or comments. This also requires a roll call. Begin voting with Commissioner Hengler.
Aye.
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 All right, pass 4-0. Item number 5, second consideration ordinance number 8215, the approval of special use permit for 2-family dwelling at 728 Potawatomi Street.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, again, you heard this item on first consideration at the April 25th meeting. There have been no public comments or any changes since that meeting. As a quick reminder, this is a vacant piece of property located at 728 Potawatomi. This would be where the Leavenworth Attainable Housing plans to build their first duplex in their mission to build affordable housing in Leavenworth.
Questions or comments? If not, this also requires a roll call.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
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 All right, pass 4-0. Item number 6, second consideration ordinance number 8216, approval of special use permit for a 2-family dwelling at 1906 Fifth Avenue.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, the final second consideration ordinance follows the pattern of the original 3. There have been no changes since the April 25th meeting. As a quick reminder, this is an existing duplex that simply requires a special use permit to be rightfully zoned. This is a title issue, so there have been no changes or no public feedback since the April 25th first consideration.
Do we have any questions or comments? If not, this also requires a roll call. Begin voting with Commissioner.
Aye.
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 All right, pass 4-0. Next item on the agenda, new business. This is open to anyone that's in the audience that would like to make any public comments. We ask that you keep all comments to 2 to 3 minutes. There will be no action taken by the commission. Ms. Sarah, do we have anyone that signed up?
No.
Okay. Would you like to speak, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. Please come up to the
Podium.
State your first and last name, including your address as well, please.
Here.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Frances Hayes, and actually I'm looking for direction. There's an improper display of a placard sign, a handicap placard sign, and it's causing problems in the neighborhood of Osage Street. And I'm kind of lost. I just didn't know where to go. So I figured maybe somebody could give me some feedback or some.
Chief got you covered, ma'am.
Okay.
Hi, ma'am, we'll step outside and we'll do it.
Thank you so much.
Yep,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda, public hearing for unsafe structure, 1015 Ottawa Street.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, this item will be handled by Hal Burdette, the Chief Building Inspector.
Do they have to open?
Yes, we do need to open the public hearing.
Yep.
Oh, motion to open the public hearing. Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
A motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner
Aye.
England. Aye.
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 Motion carried. We're now entering into the public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. That's been before you before. 1015 Ottawa is a structure that was damaged by fire in November. City received the insurance proceeds check. We're here tonight to consider a resolution to see how we're going to handle the structure. I can tell you that I spoke with the property owner. He actually came into the office today. I do not see him here this evening. He has been going back and forth deciding whether he wants to sell it or demolish it. He keeps telling staff that he's going to demolish it. He said that again today. I advised him that it would be quicker and easier if he handled the demolition. And that's really where I'm at. That's all the information I have at this time. He has no intentions of repairing it himself. I did explain to him if he sold it to another property owner, He would not get his money back until the repairs were made, and he does not seem interested in that.
Okay, so he just wants to move forward with the demolition,
He says he does, yes.
and we're looking at giving him 90 days depending upon the commission's decision.
I would offer, Mr. Mayor and Commission, that this has been going on since November, and we were in contact early on. He indicated at that point wanting to demo, however, there are no efforts to obtain a demo permit. You could certainly go with a shorter time period. This is a pretty big blighting influence on that. And the reason that we hold insurance proceeds is to take care of those blighting permits, so maybe something in a little shorter order would be an alternative. However, 90 days is typically what we do, but having seen no effort at this point to pull a demo permit, you might consider a shorter window.
What do you want to think, 30 to 60?
30 days, 30 days. Since it's been out.
Mr. Mayor, I would say you do have to open it up for public
Oh,
comment.
thank you, sir.
Oh, that's
Since it's a
right.
public hearing.
Is there anyone that would like to make any comments regarding this particular issue? That has been noted. Are we in favor of 30 or 60 days?
Close the public hearing.
Close it, yeah.
Okay, motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
A motion has been
Second.
seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 All right.
Just,
Public hearing has been closed.
oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, just one question. How much do we allocate typically yearly for demolition? Again, you've told me before, I don't remember.
Right, so in this case, we are holding approximately $34,000 in insurance proceeds. So these would not be city dollars that the city would use. These would be insurance proceeds that we receive from the insurance company that we would use to remediate or to demolish the property and then return any unused funds to the property owner.
Okay, and typically, what do those costs run if we do?
Oh, they're anywhere between maybe 8 to 15,000, depending on bids, mobilization, the area, something like that.
Okay, I'm good with 30 days.
30 days?
Yes.
All right.
I think so. We haven't given him an extension earlier.
No,
No,
this
he
is the first
he
time.
has
Yeah.
not been here. We've had
Yeah.
previous contact, but no action
Right.
at this point or no plans.
Yeah, 30 days sounds good to me.
So we're in favor of 30 days. This does require a motion.
I move that we allow 30 days to, for the owner to initiate demolition on this home at, this house at 1015 Ottawa Street.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 Motion carried, 4-0. Thank you, Ms. Howe. Next item on the agenda, mayor's appointment. I move to reappoint to the Building Code Board of Appeals, Jody Cos to a term ending May 1st, 2028. Reappoint to the Electrical Board of Appeals, Jeff Wagner to a term ending May 1st, 2028. Reappoint to the Mechanical Board of Appeals, Keith Sanders to a term ending May 1st, 2028. Appoint to the Public Board of Appeals, John DiAgostino to a term ending May 1st, 2028. This also requires a second.
Second?
A motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 A motion carried, 4-0. Next item on the agenda, item number 9, consider Cherokee Street closure request, motorcycle show special event.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioner, this will be handled by Chief Pat Kitchens.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, recently, on March the 27th, the City of Leavenworth received a special event application that we attached to the policy report from Carl Slicker to have a Leavenworth bike show at Haymarket Square on August the 26th. His team is here this evening to offer some comments if you so choose. What they've asked to do, which is unique and different from the last 6 or 7 years that they've had the event, is to close the 600 block of Cherokee Street. I met with them after they submitted the application to discuss specifically what they wanted to do and then some alternatives, because the city staff gets these kinds of requests quite frequently to have an event or close a street, and so we try to work out alternatives from them. We weren't able to reach a resolution. But historically, the city staff has not allowed events associated with Haymarket Square to go outside of the bubble and onto public roadways. We're sensitive to interference of other businesses and residents. Often Oftentimes, the closure of streets requires cars to be towed occasionally and that sort of thing, and so we're very sensitive about that. But I'll leave it to them to speak, but essentially their position is Haymarket Square is not big enough now for their event, and they need the portion of the 600 block of Cherokee to accommodate the growing size of the event. Again, they can speak to it, but during our conversations, the plan would be for them to have the motorcycle show and food trucks on the Haymarket Square site, but vendors who are selling products at the event would be lined in the 600 block of Cherokee Street. The other complication is the water department is there, and sometimes folks come on Saturday to close, to pay their water bill. And so even if we were to close the 600 block of Cherokee, it would be a little bit complicated. We wouldn't be able to do the whole thing, and that's another part of the equation. And so, not only is this particular request here, we also have had a couple of more requests pending. Joanne Schultz from the NAACP is planning her Juneteenth celebration, and they have decided this year to move it to Haymarket Square. So they want to do the parade and end it at Haymarket Square. Ms. Schultz has asked, as part of that application process, if she could close the 600 block of Cherokee Street as well for her event. The city staff met with Wilcott Brewing Company, the new business down there at 6th and Cherokee, about street closure, or they're planning some stuff for Oktoberfest coming up later in the year. And so, again, the city staff traditionally has not allowed these kinds of things. We've tried to work out alternatives with them and see if we can't do a better job than the 600 block of Cherokee Street, as well as the Central Business District as well. I think this week we got a conversation, someone called and wanted to have a car show on Delaware Street where they're closing several blocks of Delaware Street. So we get those kinds of things all the time. We get those things and we typically try not to do that. But they've asked for consideration for that. And so we wanted to come visit with you tonight about that and see how you felt about that, see what your thoughts were about that. With the idea that this may be a little bit precedent setting if you were to allow this. We're likely to have to entertain these things, which is fine. It's just having a public conversation about it, full understanding of the consequences of it, and your guidance going forward as we move through probably some additional requests for that. So before you specifically is the request by the Gypsy Aces to close the 600 block of Cherokee Street from roughly 2:30 right after the farmer's market through the day till about 10 o'clock at night for the festival throughout that day. And then that would give us some sense about how you might feel going forward with other ones that we have pending. I can answer whatever questions you might have. I think the gentleman is here. He would like to address and make some comments about what they've done to work through that. On the dais, you might have seen a letter we got today from Main Street. We've been visiting with Ms. Deere about, asking for their ideas and thoughts about how their businesses might feel about closing streets downtown and that sort of thing. And so you feel free to read that. We just got that today from Ms. Holler, our Assistant City Manager. Sir, is that okay, Mr. Mayor? You want to come up and have make some comments?
Yes, sir. Please feel free. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Commission members, my name is John Goodson, 1428 South 2nd Street address. We've had this bike show, motorcycle show for the previous 6 years. This will be our 7th year. Requesting this, I understand all the problems with having to do it, but last year we had approximately 25 vendors. We had over 100 motorcycles and over 300 people that participated in the event last year. This year, we started earlier, and right now we have approximately 70 craft vendors in the local area that want to participate in this. We're expecting somewhere between 200 and 300 motorcycles and approximately 500 people. Now, I understand everything that Mr. Kitchen said about this. We've got a plan for the water department so that we don't block it off. The entrance to the water department off 6th Street, we would like to block it off from there. That way, coming off 5th Street and 6th, you can turn in, go right around through. We've always had that blocked off before so that we didn't interfere with anyone wanting to come in to the water department, pay their bills, things of that nature. We have personally spoke with every business on that block, and I've got a signed letter by every member of all the businesses, stating their intentions that they're more than welcome for us to do this. What we do this event for is to raise money for various charities around Leavenworth. Got a list up here: Law and Animal Welfare Society. We raise money for the Council on Aging, the Leavenworth Interfaith Community Shelter, the Hope Shelter, and the Alliance Against Family Violence, Sisters of Charity, and CASA, Court Appointed Special Advocate for Children. We do this so that we can help participate, offset some of the things that they need throughout the year. And I understand this will be the first time this is somewhat unusual. We've never done this before, but with the amount of people we had last year, we were literally bursting at the seams. And we're just trying to do something so that we can include more public. This is absolutely a family-friendly atmosphere that we put on every year. And any questions you have, I'm more than happy to answer.
10 o'clock, the time, will the vendors remain out there to 10, or is there a shut-off time for the vendors?
In previous years, that's the period of time they give us. They give us after the farmer's market from about 2:30 until 10, 11. This event is generally over by 9, between 8 and 9. People take, depending on the weather, heat and rain, things like that. We've had both people take and they start to move on. And we've had the place cleaned up and gone by 9 o'clock at the latest, generally.
So you said
Briefly interject, some of that probably has to do with the noise ordinance permit. We wouldn't allow one to go past 10 o'clock because of the noise that was associated.
And all those things have been taken care of. We've done everything within city guidelines to make this as palatable for everyone.
So you said you plan on pretty much being closed by 9, so you'll probably start cleaning up everything about 8.
Somewhere in that neighborhood, yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
So you've had it there, several
Our first
years.
event was in 2017
At Haymarket,
at Haymarket.
okay.
The only year we haven't had it since 17 is 2020 during the pandemic, and we were there in 21, 22.
Well, one of the reasons for moving our festivals down to the landing park was that there was so much more space down there. And I'm wondering, if we have to close streets off, that was the reason, one of the reasons, so we wouldn't have to close streets off and have a big event.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that.
As many streets.
When we first started doing this, we didn't have any idea how many people we were gonna have. And looking at different areas, we're not really familiar with all the areas that we can get, and we are looking, and if we hadn't started so early, we've got flyers, I have flyers here, where we started advertising because we didn't know how big it was gonna be, and it's pretty much exploded in the last month and a half. And it's one of those things. I wish we could move it to a bigger, a larger place, but with everything that we've already got set up, this year, if we could do it, because we've already started looking for larger places next year.
Okay.
Within the city. This is an unusual circumstance for us.
Well, I was just gonna say, my first concern was the local businesses and everything. It
Yes.
seems like between Main Street and the letters you say you've got
Yes.
that kind of address
Yes.
some of those concerns, that was the biggest thing. And we've been talking about how could we maybe bring more events and stuff like that to the city. And if there is something that's growing and it makes sense and it gets our, local businesses happy too,
Yes, sir.
I'm definitely, favor that more positively.
And that's why we're doing it. We're trying to give the people on a weekend, on a Saturday, that they can go and they can look at some motorcycles and talk to some people. We just didn't expect it to grow this quickly. And last year we were bursting at the seams, like I said. And this year it's just, we've gotten more participation and more people calling us, wanting to participate, and things of that nature.
Were there any businesses opposed to?
None, zero.
So, okay.
Well, we're just talking about that one block there
Yeah.
too, so.
Just the one.
Yeah, I'm all about trying to, bring more things to the community as well. And definitely appreciate you all for contributing to making donations to several organizations that you have listed that's making a big impact on this community.
Well, we are, and during the event, we've already picked out a charity, CASA.
Yeah.
And we're gonna invite the commissioners down and persons from there, and we're gonna donate right there while it's happening.
Yeah. Well, it's one, you have my support. Commissioner Hengelen?
Is this gonna place a burden on police department?
No, sir. All the years that we've
Well,
done this, we've had
let's let the
no.
police talk. Let's let the police chief answer that, okay?
It's almost police week. No, sir, it's not an undue burden. I mean, we would set up barricades and that sort of thing, and
Yep.
I think we typically walk through there and make sure that everybody's behaving themselves, which they have. We haven't had any incidents. So there are events that happen at Haymarket quite frequently that we visit, and so this is not an unusual burden. It's just simply the closure of 6th Street that's the one that we're particularly sensitive to making sure that we're having public conversations, everybody's aware of why we're doing it, what's going on, making sure that there aren't folks that are agitated. As much as we might visit with, there's also folks that live downtown above, and so we just have to make sure that we're all in agreement. That's what we're going to do. There's likely to be a person irritated or so, which is fine, but we just need to make sure we're all having those conversations like this publicly to make sure, and that you're supportive of that. Again, the other part of it is that it might be a little bit precedent setting. We're likely to entertain additional ones, and we just want to make sure we were. Mr. Kramer and I were talking earlier, these kinds of things come up every 3 or 4 years where we need to just make sure we're all back on the same page and sort of recalibrated with it. So I hope that didn't answer your question. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Well, and like you said, Wendy's letter, Wendy, Miss Debbie's letter. But she says, I've spoken with some business owners in that block who could potentially be impacted by the street closure. They have expressed that they feel it would be beneficial to their late afternoon, evening foot traffic and are in favor of the request. They indicated that this event took place last year on a smaller scale, and they did see an increase in patrons through their front doors, resulting in increased sales. She also, I'm not going to read the whole letter, but she also mentioned that she is planning on doing a survey that will include a question pertaining to this issue to her members. But I don't think we can put it off until she gets that survey. So we need to make a decision now.
Yeah, I'm in favor of doing it. And I realize it sets a, kind of a precedent, and I think we still probably have to evaluate everything as it comes over, but I think we're gonna run into this more and more, the direction we're heading with wanting to have more events, in town anyway.
And for this organization, they're a known quantity. The communication's been good. They've done a lot of outreach. They've been responsive to all the questions and issues we've brought up. So there is precedent, but there's still an onus on the organization to show that they're gonna be a good partner, and I think they've met that threshold.
Cool.
Yeah, and we've got so many places around town that we can have events that we need to, people need to look at besides just Haymarket too in the future.
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
So,
Well, thank you for investing in the community. This will, if there's no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I do move to approve the requested street closure on Cherokee for Saturday, August 26, 2023, from 2:30 to 10 p.m.
second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Hengler.
Aye.
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 All right, motion carried 4-0.
Mayor, if I may add
Congratulations.
something, I'm not sure that these will always necessarily need to come before the commission for approval. You do have provisions in your code on parades and things like that, so I think what staff would be taking, this is kind of the direction of the council, of the commission, is how you'd like these codes to be administered, but I don't know that every one of these needs to come. But we'll still
I
take a
don't-
look at that as well.
Yeah, I think they probably do for a street closure like this, but
Certainly parades and such under your code,
Would.
some of them are, can be handled.
parades, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
but
just,
essentially
talk about a
street
couple
closures as
hours,
well.
yeah.
So we'll take a look at that.
This is a lot longer than just a couple of hours or an hour for a parade, so. Yeah,
Yep, thank you. Before I Move to item number 10. I have to make a public announcement. Pursuant to City Code Section 2-55C, members of the City Commission have a duty to vote unless such members declares a conflict of interest or other conflict that appears to make voting on an issue improper. For the next agenda item, I believe it would be improper for me to vote and be a part of this discussion. The party requesting the action is my mama. At this point, I would turn the meeting over to Mayor Pro Tem Martin until this item is concluded.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, this is a consideration request to abate special assessments and nuisances and demolition fees and a nuisance lien for 1921 Fifth Avenue. The requesting party is Ms. Savannah Nelson. This is a somewhat common item that's brought to the commission. It is somebody who has acquired a property. The city had placed assessments or liens on that property. The new owner then sees that these assessments are on there and comes to the city for some type of relief. So I'll go into a little bit of detail on this one. This one has a few different items. It has mowings from March 2022, or from 2021, there was a mowing, and then in March 2022, the city demolished the single-family structure located on the property, and also in 2022, the city performed mowing at the property on several occasions. What normally happens, this property was purchased initially at a sheriff's sale, and it's a timing issue. So at one point when it goes to the sheriff's sale, a judge will issue an order, and the order wipes away liens or assessments prior to that or up to that time. It takes a while from that order then to be put on a sheriff's sale or somebody to purchase it or finalize. And during that period, and that's the case here, the property was demolished, and so those demolition assessments were then placed on the property, were not wiped out by the order. And so what you have here is a summary. You have actual costs incurred by the city, and that's a combination of mowing and demolition, and then you have administrative fees. The second page on this policy report outlines the administrative fees. You'll see that a $1,000 administrative fee was related to the demo. That can deal with a number of things, utility cuts, title work, or anything that we may put on there. And then there are fees related to the mowings. If there's a question about why the fees vary between $100, $250, and $500, it deals with how many times that's been mowed at a calendar year. So for 2021, by that point in the year, most likely that was the third or fourth mowing, and so it had a $500 administrative fees. The ones before that were likely removed by the judge's order. So that's why that one's on there. And then you'll see in 2022, those were earlier in the year, and it goes $100 and $250. That's because those administrative fees escalate as the city is required to take those mowings under our control. You'll also notice that the mowing charges is significantly higher in 2022 as opposed to 2021. If you'll remember, in 2022, we had a significantly difficult time finding people to mow. We did a Facebook post, we couldn't find anybody, so the rates were much higher in 2022 that we paid, therefore those are passed along to the property owner. So what I'll say in finding is the three broad options that you have are to waive special assessments, fees for nuisance and demolition, and for the nuisance lien for 1921 Fifth Avenue, that'd be waive everything. Reduce the special assessment fees for nuisance and demolition and for the nuisance lien to a different amount that the commission would choose, or to deny the request. So I'll leave it there. We do have the applicant here to speak to it, but I'm sure that you have questions, so I'm happy to answer those.
So not to beat a dead horse, but just to make sure, I feel like I ask this every year. Cost that we set aside for demo for our budget on a regular basis is what's...
So the city sets aside approximately $30,000 of community development block grant funds for blight elimination.
Okay.
So those are federal dollars that come through us from the federal government. We set aside that. The city also sets aside a similar amount from general fund dollars to demolish any properties beyond that. It's almost impossible to tell when you do a full bid which one were CDBG dollars or which one were general fund dollars, but we do that so that we can have a full demolition cycle.
Okay, so I mean, this falls within those kind of the set budgets as far as what we
Absolutely
covered for that, okay.
Yes.
And I definitely want to hear from the rest of the commission, but my thing is always, if there's a fixed cost in place and we're not seeing any excuse me, excessive, there are costs that go past that budgeted amount, I'm kind of cool with going the direction we have in the past as far as waiving the fees on that and not penalizing new owners for things that have been done in the past. Again, that's just my initial thought, but I'd like to hear from Commissioner Bowder and Commissioner Engel.
I'd like to ask the owner, what are your plans for the property?
Ms.
You can
Nelson,
come up
yes,
to the thing,
please.
Ms. Nelson. Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Just what are your plans? Yeah,
I'm planning on building a house on it for my son.
okay.
And that's what I wanted to do.
Okay, that's what I wondered. Thank you, thank you. Well, I think the way we've looked at this before is if you're gonna improve on a property that would bring in more revenue to the city and help the neighborhood and just improve on the neighborhood, we have written off a lot, if not all, of the fees. And I can't remember now what we did on the last couple of these that came up. Do you, Paul, remember?
It seems to me we've waived the fees, in the past, though, 2 or 3 of them in the last year and a half or so.
Right, traditionally, and it's case-by-case basis, what's the plans for the property? How did the property owner come by the property? Have they been maintaining it for years? Every case is a little bit different. The traditional is waiving of the administrative fees, but not the actual costs. But again, it has been dependent over the time on conditions of an individual property.
I remember one too, where it seemed like that we waived the administration fees and then cut the cost in half. Waived half of the cost. I can't remember what this has been over a couple, 3 years ago.
Several different things.
Yeah,
Yeah, I kind of look at this a little bit like kind of what we did with 600 Cherokee a little bit. Same type of setup, like, okay, we've got the costs have been allocated, they're out there, and now we got somebody coming in that's going to make an improvement or something like that. I just kind of look at it the same way. I get that those are costs that we paid for that and everything, but still don't feel like we need to penalize the new owner, especially sometimes those costs are kind of hidden. You don't always see them at the sales sometimes, but anyway, I'm sorry, Commissioner Bowder, I don't know if I.
no, you're
interrupted you.
fine, you're fine.
Commissioner Engel?
No, I feel the same way, and I hadn't realized that we had cut the cost of the actual charges that
We have in the
we
past.
have in the past. I kind of like the idea that we're allowed, we can do that, and with that, personally, I would, if you don't mind, I'll make a motion that we waive the administrative fees of $1,850 and reduce the actual charges of $500 to $5,761.50.
I'll second that.
Then now need to.
Can we clarify that one more time? What
Certainly.
do we do? Sure.
Waive the admin fee,
Okay,
$1,850,
okay.
right? And the actual charges reduce by $500, leaving $5,761.
Wait a minute, that's not right.
$5,000.
Reduced
did I
by
say?
5,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
I thought that's what you said, but I wasn't sure.
yeah, no, you're right,
So the motion is 5,000?
5,000, reduce it by 5,000.
right.
And Commissioner Engel, just to make sure that I'm clear, so you're talking about almost dropping it in half instead of waiving it completely, is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
That's the actual charges, yeah. Waiving the administrative charges.
Well, since you clarified, okay. I guess I seconded the one that I did, that you
Yeah,
had clarified.
you
so
didn't.
I don't know. I feel like I'm the third person here.
No, it's okay, can we, to clear the air,
Sure.
push reset, do we need to go ahead and vote?
I mean, if you guys want to continue to have some discussion, withdraw your motion.
I'll withdraw
Technically,
my
you're not supposed to
motion.
do it,
Okay.
But, but without objection,
Right.
Yeah, I
Got
don't object to
objection.
that.
Okay. I think you make a good point about the fact that a lot of money is gonna be spent building a new house on this property, and it's, you know, spending, I don't know what a lot costs now. You guys know that, what a lot normally costs without any,
Just depends.
yeah.
And I just,
So,
want- I'm
anyway,
sorry.
it's a lot. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I am in favor of removing all charges to the new property owner. And if you're not, I understand. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page or that we're not, and I understand fully what you want to do before we were to vote on it. So, anyway. I'll have to be a
Yeah,
broken record, but.
I consider the fact that, you know, as you said, it's, every year it's budgeted for. And this is added up over a couple of years now. It's not just in this one past year. You know,
And those are costs that are gone, they're
yeah, there's some
they're
costs.
gone now.
Yeah, and this is funds that we receive through Community Development Block Grant, which is a federal grant.
That's why I want to ask that to begin with, because I want to make sure these are no, additional costs that we're actually having to, fork out for this year that weren't planned for in our budget this year, but they're not, so.
Well, in that case, I'd be willing to take the whole thing off then.
I'll go with general
Ken,
Okay, I'm sorry.
did you have another question, or?
No, just David was asking me for a clarification. So we had withdrawn the motion, so I don't believe
Yeah.
there's a
No
motion on
motion
the
at
No,
all.
there was no motion on the
Just
table right now.
discussing.
Okay.
So if we're all clear, and again, whatever you want to go with, I would just need a motion then.
Okay, I move that we waive the administration fee and the actual charges to the owner of 1921 Fifth Avenue.
Second.
Begin voting then with Commissioner Hinkle.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passed 3-0.
Come back up.
Yes, sir.
Yes. I didn't know you were in here, I thought you were out in the hallway. Okay,
Item number 11, Resolution B 2335, authorizing issuance of general obligation bonds for the construction, furnishing and equipping of new fire station number 3.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. Based on direction provided by the City Commission, staff is pursuing a design-build contract with Cos Construction and WSKF Architects for the design and construction of Fire Station number 3. Staff recommends funding the construction of the project with general obligation bonds. Therefore, prior to approving the design-build contract, which I believe will be coming to the Commission shortly in the next few weeks, staff is requesting that the City Commission authorize the issuance of the general obligation bonds per KSA 12-1736. So based on Kansas cash basis law, we have to have authorization of the funding in place prior to actually approving the contract. It's contemplated that the design and engineering phase of the project will occur this year, and the construction phase will occur next year. My policy report has the dates a little confused because I'm in the middle of budgeting and I never know what year it is. But staff recommends paying the cost of the engineering and design, which will occur this year, from funds that are already available in the countywide sales tax fund. Staff recommends paying for the demolition of the existing fire station and for the construction, furnishing, and equipping of the new fire station with GO bonds, and those bonds would be issued next year prior to the actual commencement of the construction of the fire station. The cost of the project is estimated to be less than $5 million. So at this point, today, the staff is requesting that the City Commission approve Resolution number B2335, which authorizes the issuance of these general obligation bonds of the city in the maximum principal amount of $5 million to pay for the cost of the project, together with all things necessary and incidental thereto. I am happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions or comments from the commission?
Just one quick question that Robert, I know you don't have the answer to, but I just wondered if you can walk me through it, because I am just kind of curious with the timing of the project. What point do you think we might get more of a fixed total cost of the project? I don't know if is there a time when they're gonna be like, okay, here's our design, it's set, now we're gonna order materials? Do we know? I was just kind of curious.
I mean, you can, David, if you want to say something.
So, the design build contract is kind of a two-stage process, where the theory behind design build is that you have your budget, your scope of work, et cetera, and you hire an architect. I'm repeating myself a little bit from our last meeting, but, traditionally you would hire an architect and they would build it, then you go out and find out how much it costs. The design build, a contractor is working there with the design build team, and they're working through that process together in what we call the pre-construction phase of it. The schedule for that, I don't know what it is yet, that has not been negotiated yet, I don't know. But then there will be a second time where, once the design has reached enough completion in design elements, that the contractor says, I can put the bid together, they prepare what's called a design build proposal, which then is kind of a second bite at the apple for the city to say thumbs up, thumbs down. If, the contractor, again, theory behind design build is hopefully, at that point, you don't get a bid that is way up high, because the contractor has known your budget from the very beginning, has been working with the architect the whole time to design something to bring it into that budget from the very beginning. I have not been part of conversations, though, about the expected construction time on that yet.
Yeah, so where we are now is that the contract draft is to WKS and CAUSE the team. And then we'll work with them, our staff, individually on the design. Some point the design will work with the construction team and they'll come up with a number. We cannot move forward until the commission approves that. So we'll bring the entire project with the design and a cost to you for consideration. And at that point, I think when we did animal control, there were some concerns that it was too high. It doesn't mean we're gonna spend $5 million. It could come in well below that, and you could say, I think we still need to come in below that. You ultimately would have complete approval of the design, the cost, and the ultimate cost of the project.
And basically, this is just making sure the money's there when we start,
Well, we
right?
can't sign a contract with them under Kansas statute without having authorized ourselves to have the avenue for funding.
Right.
But the design and the project and the cost will all come back to the commission for consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, good question.
The cash basis law is essentially a limitation on cities incurring debt. You have to have budget authority, cash to enter into those things, so you're not carrying debt.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, great feedback, good question. If there's no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval of Resolution B 2335, authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds of the city in the maximum principal amount of $5 million to pay the cost of the project, together with all things necessary and incidental thereto.
Second.
A motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Hinkler.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 12, Resolution B 2336, declaring the necessity to appropriate a private property connected with the US 73 Choctaw to Seneca Improvement Project.
This would be Brian Faust, the Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. As stated, the item this evening is to consider a resolution to start that process to acquire private property. The plans for the street improvements identified the need for several temporary construction easements, permanent landscape easements, additional rights-of-way, and a permanent drainage easement. Over the last month, the city, through our consultant, has been working to obtain the needed easements from the property owners. Currently, we have obtained 5 easements, and we have 19 more to go. The process is actually going reasonably well. However, to avoid risking delaying the project or possibly losing KDOT funding, the city does need a parallel condemnation process to help ensure that the needed properties are obtained. As we do with all projects, city staff will continue working with the property owners all the way through this, and we do hope to have resolution before it reaches the point of condemnation. This project is scheduled for bid opening in September. However, KDOT requires easements and rights of way to be obtained before we can actually initiate the bidding. While the easements are needed for the project, the protection of private property rights is key. The law does allow for the government to acquire private property for public purposes with just compensation. Kansas statutes defines the process to help ensure the power of the government is not unreasonably applied to the citizens during property acquisition. The approval of this resolution is simply the first step of a larger process. The process can be somewhat lengthy. I think the quickest can probably be done is in about 60 days. However, it can take much longer. If it's approved tonight by resolution, we'd be bringing an ordinance back to you at the next meeting for 2 readings. So staff does recommend the City Commission approve Resolution B 2336 regarding the appropriation of private property for public purposes, and be happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor?
No.
Yes, sir.
Have you found any property owners that are adamantly opposed?
No, not to the project. We've had some discussions regarding landscape easements, where people are concerned about landscape easements, and are they going to be required to maintain those? So we're working through those.
I understand.
This is more of a technicality than to get
Yeah.
it done.
There's no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Real quick, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. What is this going to actually do as far as setting a future precedent for, I'm just reading through the notes here and
So
talked about the
it's fairly
American
common on state projects. We did this on the project down there at Home Depot, if you'll remember. Because of the state requirement that bidding not be done until condemnation process, by process of passing a resolution, going through the ordinance has started. Without that, then they won't bid the project. And so very rarely do we get into the point where we go through condemnation. Sometimes we get to the end and we have 1 or 2 holdouts, and it's usually a matter of trivial nature or a temporary construction easement. But it's common on state projects where there is a requirement before bids that either all of them are attained or this process has commenced.
Okay. Thank you.
I entertain a motion.
I move approval of Resolution B 2336, declaring the necessity to appropriate private property connected with the US 73 Choctaw to Seneca Improvement Project.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 4-0.
We'll keep you updated on the easements, and usually they go pretty quickly, so we'll keep you updated.
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Consider award of bid for 2023 pavement management project, mill and overlay program.
It's again Brian Faust.
And thank you. The components of the 2023 program include microsurfacing. That was previously awarded to Vance Brothers. Mill and overlay, which is under consideration this evening. And the City Hall parking lot upgrades combined with work on 7th Street. Inspection of all these projects will be done by city staff. The mill and overlay program for 2023 includes a number of streets, if I can pull up the map here. The 2 big streets that we'll be working on in 2023 are Shawnee between 10th and 15th. That project those streets were reconstructed in 2000. It's important now that we go ahead and mill and overlay them before we actually lose the ability for mill and overlay to function, and we have to reconstruct. And so the plan is to mill and overlay 10th to 15th this year and 15th to 20th next year. We'll have that street completely done by the end of next year. The other large project is 10th Street, running between Stockton and Michigan. There's 2 other projects, Spruce between 3rd and 4th. If you've been on Spruce between 3rd and 4th, it's in fairly bad shape. That project we want to do in 2023 because a lot of people will be using that as a detour in 2024 when we close 4th Street. So it's important to take care of that this year. And we're also working on Poplar between 2nd and 3rd. And it's a little dot at the very bottom. It's hard to see, but we're also reconstructing the intersection of 15th and Violet this year. The project plans were prepared by Alfred Benish, and the project was advertised for bid in the Leavenworth Times and at Drexel Technologies. And we did open bids April 25th. We received 2 bids, Little Joe's Asphalt who's worked with the city before, as well as Fahey, who's also done our projects in the past. The engineer's estimate was $995,000. Low bid was $701,688. And Little Joe does meet all of our bidding requirements. And I did a summary for you on the 2023 pavement management kind of budget where we are. Microservicing was awarded to Vance Brothers at a cost of $507,790. Mill and overlay with Little Joe's is $701,688. We also paid for some investigation of the City Hall parking lot before we put a new surface on it. We wanted to see what was underneath it, so that was $4,400 for that subsurface investigation. So currently, we're roughly at $1.2 million. Other things to be included in the 23 program are the reconstruction of the City Hall parking lot and 7th Street. So we have roughly $800,000 left in the budget to do that with. Staff does recommend the City Commission award the mill and overlay component of the 2023 pavement management program to Little Joe's Asphalt with the amount of $701,688. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I just want to say, man, thank you for being proactive with addressing spruce between 3rd and 4th Street.
I was just going to say that. Oh, my gosh. That's been,
So that's great, so thank you for that.
yes, definitely. Good
That's
job.
it. All right, any other questions or comments from the commission?
No.
No, and the only thing I'll mention is once we get the City Hall parking lot and 7th Street bids in June, we'll see if we have a little bit of extra, and then we can go back to either microsurfacing or mill and overlay and add some based on quantities, add some larger sections of street. So we'll keep you updated as we move through the final phase, which is the parking lot in 7th Street.
Yep. Thank you. If there's no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the City Commission award the 2023 pavement management mill and overlay program to Little Joe's Asphalt for the amount of $701,000, $701,688.
Second.
A motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 Motion carried, 4-0. Last item on the agenda, consent agenda. Commissioner Barrett.
I move approval of the claims for April 22, 2023 through May 5, 2023 in the amount of $1,509,327.44. Net amount for payroll number 9 effective May 5, 2023 in the amount of $358,879.47. No police and fire pensions.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Hengler.
Aye.
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 Motion carried. That concludes our meeting. At this time, we're going to go around the table, starting with our city manager, Paul Kramer. Any updates?
Yeah, the only item that I'd like to make sure everybody was aware of was the Hawthorne Splash Pad official kickoff. That'll be 11 to 1 this Saturday. We have hot dogs and chips and drinks. All the features will be out there. So we invite the community to come out. I was there at 8 o'clock last night for baseball practice, and there were still dozens of people there. And so Hawthorne was a hive of activity last night. It was nice to see with both fields practice going on and the splash park and people at the shelter and a lot of activity last night out there. So it's going well. And we're less than 4 weeks away from the pool opening, and the kiddie pool will be ready for the revamped kiddie pool out at Woolman. So we're good on lifeguards. I know that's a challenge a lot of municipalities face. We have a really good staff, and so right now we're in pretty good shape for a swim season out at Woolman. So that's all I have.
Awesome.
I had a question from a constituent. What age group, young to old, is the splash pad really designed for?
All ages.
Don't discriminate, because I'll be out there.
We have found that
Yeah, me too.
that there is some peace of mind in the toddler ages because
Yeah.
there's no standing water. And so there's a little bit, so we're seeing a lot, but we are seeing everything.
Okay, good, thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Commissioner Martin?
Nothing else? Everybody have a great week.
Well, I'd like to thank Mayor Wilson because the splash pad was your idea, and you really pushed it through, and we appreciate. As everybody knows, it takes a while, and I think it was when you were mayor last time, 4 years ago, that you proposed this idea. And so it's good when we have a goal and we see something accomplished that supports our community. And thank you for that. That's all I
Appreciate you,
have.
thank you. I think it's just the kid in me because of my height, I relate to the kids. But no, definitely looking forward to everyone coming out this upcoming Saturday at the Splash Pad. And also just want to thank all of the teachers in our community. This is Teacher Appreciation Week, and just thank you all for just teaching our kids, putting up with our kids 8 hours a day, and you all are true heroes in our community. And we just honor you and we just thank you for everything that you are doing. And so just really just want to say appreciate you, and include also extending this out to the janitors as well. Thank you all, because you all have worked it in. You all mean so much to us for investing in our children, so appreciate it. Other than that, man, God bless you all and have a great weekend.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion is mid second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Meeting adjourned.